of credit, even by the fake news. But here at home, we totally transformed the federal judiciary. And as Penny said, I heard her opening remarks, and she said we appointed nearly 300 judges, really brilliant judges, and they interpret the law as written. The Constitution, we like to say the Constitution as written. That's the way they interpret. Together we withstood vicious attacks to confirm 3 great Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Really good people, too. And I'm also proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Very important. We're going to talk about that in just a second. From my first day in office, I took action to protect the unborn. I reinstated the Mexico City policy, stopped taxpayer funding for the abortion of industrial complex, and at the United Nations, I made clear that global bureaucrats have no business attacking the sovereignty of nations that protect innocent life. They have no business doing that. And I was the first sitting president ever to attend, as Penny also mentioned, the March for Life rally right here in Washington, D.C. They talked about attending it. You know, presidents for years talked about attending. Oh, I'm going to go, I'm going to go. And then it happened that they didn't go. And none of them went, none of them. But I went, and it was a beautiful day. 1 year ago, in a victory that conservatives had been seeking for 50 years. 50 years they've been fighting for this. Those same Supreme Court justices and the Supreme Court ruled to end the moral and constitutional atrocity known as Roe v. Wade. Very important. Nobody thought that could be done. And so important, and it's not discussed right, it's not talked about right. To be honest, Republicans don't know how to discuss the subject, but they're the radicals, not us. The Democrats are the radicals. So now pro-lifers have a tremendous power to negotiate. You had no power whatsoever. There wasn't a thing you could do. But now you have tremendous power to negotiate, which they didn't have before the ruling. This moves the issue back to the states. Everybody wanted it to go back to the states. All legal scholars on both sides, they wanted it back to the states where it should be. Like President Ronald Reagan before me, I support the 3 exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. And I think it's very hard politically if you don't support, but you have to go with your heart. You have to go with what you believe, and you have to rely on your heart for that. But I do support the exceptions. Ronald Reagan did, and many others do. And I think if you don't, it's politically very difficult. But again, you have to go with what you feel. Remember, the Democrats are the radicals on an issue like this. This is a very important issue, but they're very radical because they're willing to kill babies in their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th month, and even after birth. You know, they kill babies after birth. You remember the governor? I call him Michael Jackson, remember? He's a big fan of Michael. He was going to almost do the moonwalk, and then his wife stopped him. She did a great thing. It was probably the greatest contribution ever made to him. But he talked about the baby's born, and then we'll discuss with the mother what to do with the baby. The baby is born. And these are extremists, not us. They're the extremists. The politicians and the people that have this issue, they fought for 50 years to get it, and they have to know how to talk about it because they're not talking about it correctly. And when they do talk about it correctly, it's an issue that really can be positive because we do have to hold on to office. We do have to win. And we can win elections on this issue, but it's very delicate, and explaining it properly is an extremely important thing. You have to be able to speak and explain it properly. And a lot of politicians who are pro-life do not know how to discuss this topic, and they lose their election. We had a lot of election losses because of this, because they didn't know how to discuss it. They had no idea. I heard some of the people discussing it, and they just didn't have a clue. And we can't let that happen. It's an incredible thing. And we gave them this unbelievable power to negotiate a great deal. And remember, before the termination of Roe v. Wade, they had no power and you had no rights. no rights. And done properly, our nation, after 52 years, can finally come together. This has been a rough issue for our country for many, many years. And you can come together and you can have victory, but you can come together, but you have to be able to discuss it properly, because it's so bad when I listen to people talking about it. They don't know what to say. They feel it, they want it, they love it, and from a religious standpoint, they love it so much, but they don't know how to talk about it. Another great victory for our movement last year, the Supreme Court issued a landmark decision protecting a thing called school prayer. That's pretty big, right? And just months ago, and this is one that people were very impressed with, the justices also ruled to move our country forward with a merit-based system of education. Now, who thought that was going to happen? In other words, if you get all A's, you get in. If you don't get all A's and boards and whatever it is to get in, you just, you know, they were having other people come in with marks that were very, very inferior. And now they won't think of it. We're back to a merit-based. This country's about merit-based, and we're back to a merit-based system. And I think that one got people by surprise that that's happened. But we're going to have a great country. We're going to have to base success on merit, not other things. And I think that was I frankly think that was an amazing decision. But it's no wonder the far-left lunatics, perverts, and criminals are getting desperate to stop our movement by any means necessary.